In an exclusive interview with The World Today, the exiled Belarusian opposition leader Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya has spoken to me about the impact of the war in Ukraine on her country and the personal loss of being separated from her imprisoned husband, whom she hasn't heard from for a year. She said a victory for Kyiv would give people in Belarus an opportunity to overthrow Alexander Lukashenko, the man known as Europe's last dictator. She also called on the West to help political prisoners like her husband, telling me she didn't know if he was alive or dead. Well, Lukashenko has ruled Belarus with an iron fist since 1994. Although he's not recognised as the legitimate president by two neighbouring countries, he's already said he plans to seek yet another five-year term in 2025's presidential election. Sviatlana ran against him in the last election after her husband, Siarhei, a former blogger and presidential candidate, was taken into custody. Siarhei Tsikhanouski was later jailed for 18 years in a trial condemned as a sham. Well, she claimed victory in the 2020 polls, which were widely thought to be rigged, but was forced into exile with her children the day after the vote. Well, after that election, protests swept across the country before demonstrators were brutally suppressed by the security forces. Then last year, a Belarus court sentenced Sviatlana in absentia to 15 years jail. The charges included high treason and conspiracy to seize power. I began the interview with Sviatlana by asking her about the relationship between the war in Ukraine and what's happening in Belarus.
Belarus and Ukraine are intertwined. Both our countries are facing the same enemy, imperialistic ambitions of Russia, and Russia wants to subjugate Ukraine and Belarus. If in Ukraine they're fighting with tanks, missiles, they're killing people. So in Belarus, it's like creeping occupation. They interfere into our culture, into our media, economy, education, just to step by step subjugate our nation. And only strong national identity, strong society will help us to avoid this Russification.
How difficult is it going to be to build that strong nation, that strong society from where you are? I mean, you are a leader in exile. How realistic is it that you're going to influence citizens within Belarus?
Look, I'm in exile, the same as at least 500,000 of people who fled Belarus because of repressions, but still 8 million people inside Belarus. And Belarus society has full consensus about situation in our country. We are against dictatorship. We are against the war in Ukraine, against participation of our country into the war. We want free, independent and democratic Belarus through free and fair elections. We want to release our people from prisons, return back, of course, to our homeland and start developing our country as part of European families of countries. So it's not difficult to unite people who have the same aim. Now, it's not time for competition between people. It's time to fight against one enemy. It's a dictator and the system that dictator has built for 26 years, and to change, dismantle the system.
What's your plan to do this? Because let's say, for example, if Ukraine does end up beating Russia in its war, what happens next in Belarus?
The victory of Ukraine, and I'm sure that with the support and assistance of all democratic world, Ukraine definitely will win. It will be simultaneously mean one more window of opportunity for Belarusians, because victory of Ukraine will mean weak Putin, weak Russia, and hence weak Lukashenko. And now we are preparing for this moment, for this trigger, moment of opportunity. And now we are on the one hand, we are trying to weaken Lukashenko through economic and political pressure, and to strengthen our Belarusian nation, our civil society, our media, strengthen our agency of democratic forces to take political space from Lukashenko's cronies and give it to democratically oriented people. So people who are even in the system of Lukashenko's regime, they also watch closely what's going on, where the wind is blowing from, and they see that Belarusian democratic forces propose very good alternative to Russian world in Belarus, to Ruski Mir. We propose being part of European family of countries. We propose investments. We propose reforms that influence well-being of Belarusians. And believe me, people who are around Lukashenko, they also want changes. But now they're too scared by this regime to oppose him.
Sviatlana, your own husband, Sergei, has been imprisoned. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison in Belarus. I wonder whether you've been hearing from him, whether he's okay, and what his prolonged imprisonment is doing to you on a personal level.
So actually, we have thousands of political prisoners behind the bars, and it's the most painful part of our fight when thousands of people are suffering behind the bars because of ill treatment. We have a list of people with bad diseases like cancer, diabetes, heart attacks, people with special needs who are deprived of any medical care. We have to learn one term. It's incommunicado mode. It means that people who are behind the bars are kept in full isolation. This is about my husband as well. So I haven't heard about my husband for 1 year already. No information at all. Lawyer is not allowed to visit him. Letters are not delivered. You know, I don't know what to answer to my children about their daddy. And there are plenty of people who are kept like this. You know, regime wants to persuade our heroes behind the bars that the world forgot about them, that, you know, nobody's thinking about them. Just look, lawyer is not coming, letters are not delivered, your sacrifice was in vain. And I really want the world to be loud about political prisoners, about humanitarian situation in Belarus, for people not to feel forgotten in our country.
So you don't know, you don't even know whether Sergei is alive or dead right now?
Yeah, I don't know this. And of course, the situation, for example, with Alexei Navalny, you know, it's caused a lot of emotions inside me because my husband is like personal enemy to Lukashenko. And I think that only strong, decisive step from democratic world defending political prisoners and human rights, you know, can protect our beloved who are in jail.
So when you saw what happened to Mr. Navalny, that upset you?
Yeah, of course, because, you know, it's this murder and, you know, the reaction of democratic world, it's could be or green light or red line for further killing of the opponents of the regime. And of course, so is Siarhei and other people who are behind the bars, you know, the enemies of this regime, they can kill them without any consequences.